What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Sports Betting Edge podcast, brought to you by OddsJam.com, home to the number one tools in sports betting. And remember, if you are catching us on YouTube right now, make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the alert icon, so you can be notified anytime OddsJam drops new content. My name is Anthony Servino. Follow me on Twitter at The Real NFL Guru. Follow the show at OddsJam. We can be found at all of the top social media and podcast platforms. And I'm back to do a little bit of NFL plus EV betting tips and picks. You know, I'm going to go through the OddsJam plus EV betting page. I say it all the time. You should be living here. You should be hitting that refresh button because all of OddsJam's odds are updated in real time. It can be there 1 second, gone the next. You have to act fast to take advantage of everything that OddsJam has to offer. So what I'm going to do, we're at the plus EV page and we have to scroll down. I'm going to actually refresh it right now. And then we're going to scroll down to tomorrow's NFL slate. Let's see what's available. A lot of juicy college basketball, college football, NBA, NHL, a lot of juicy games today, especially the Ohio State game. I can't wait for that. But let's get to this NFL slate and let's see some of the best bets of the week. So let's scroll down, keep scrolling. A lot of things to wager on the plus EV betting page here at OddsJam. I mean, it's one after another. If you're not using the plus EV page, if you're not a member of OddsJam, I suggest you do so you can become a more profitable sports bettor over time. So here we are. Tomorrow obviously begins at 1 o'clock, which obviously is the NFL slate. And, you know, you don't have to take them all, obviously. You're not going to bet them all. But what you do want to do is find the ones that have a high probability of hitting. So this one right here, the Bengals, the Steelers, under actually, no, this is a CJ Uzomah. Now, Uzomah has been quiet. The best bet here, it's an 8.37% plus EV wager. The OddsJam perfect line, which comes from Pinnacle, the sharpest sports book in the world, the OddsJam perfect line is set at minus 117. You can get the under on CJ Uzomah's total receptions, 2.5, at plus 15 at Caesars. If you click on this calculator button, it's going to tell you, well, this has a 50.4% chance to win. This is going to tell you to wager 7.27% of your bankroll on it. So is this a good bet? What I like to do, and I'm going to go and check out what CJ Uzomah has been doing. And I'm very familiar with CJ Uzomah, and obviously, you know, most of the relevant players in the NFL, but you have to do your research, and it only takes a couple of seconds to check out this matchup. Now, CJ Uzomah, if you remember, he was hot. In the middle of the season, weeks 4, 6, and 7, I'm a fantasy guy, put up big-time fantasy numbers. However, he wasn't doing it because he was getting a lot of targets. In fact, his season-high targets was 6 back in week 4. The last time he sniffed that was 5 back in week 9. The only 2 games in which CJ Uzomah had north of 5 targets, 2 times. Week 9 and then week 4. He had 4 targets in week 8 against the Jets, but in every other game, he had fewer than 3 targets. So what does this tell you? Well, if you're going to get over 2.5 receptions, you need at least 3 targets. He's had 3 targets in one. He's had over 3 targets in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games, which means he had 1, 2, 3, 4 fewer than 3 targets in 4 games. So this isn't a highly targeted tight end like a Dalton Schultz or a Travis Kelce or a Darren Waller. He's an efficient tight end when he gets opportunities. Now, if he only gets 3 targets against Pittsburgh, that means he has to get all 3 to hit this over. Going back to week 3 against Pittsburgh, CJ Uzomah blanked. 1 target, blank stat line across the board. In terms of historical numbers between CJ Uzomah and the Pittsburgh Steelers, in 8 games, 12 receptions, 97 yards, no touchdowns, roughly average 1.2 fantasy points per game. I'm assuming that's only standard formats. Who the hell plays that anymore anyway? But Uzomah, the last 3 games dating back to 2019, absolutely goose egged. Before that, 1 catch. So out of 8 games played, he's had fewer than 3 receptions in 6 of them. The last time he had more than 3 receptions was October 14th, 2018. The Pittsburgh Steelers, they defend the tight end fairly well. The Steelers, and I like to use fantasy points against, because you can see, well, if a team gives up a lot of production to a position, then you might want to target the over. And of course, you open up the tab and you break it down from there. But the Steelers, they don't give up a lot to the tight end. They're 22nd in terms of fantasy points allowed. So let's click on that. In Pittsburgh, how many times this season have they allowed more than 3 receptions to a tight end? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And that's not just starting tight ends. That's every tight end they've played this season. Only 7 of them had north of 3 receptions. And so last week, here's the kicker. Donald Parham and Jared Cook each had 4 and 3 receptions, respectively. So, that's not really good going into week 12. However, what's the difference? Well, there was no Minkah Fitzpatrick last week, one of the best defensive backs, hybrid defensive backs in the NFL. Minkah Fitzpatrick's going to be back. He was elevated from the COVID list. He's good to go. So I'm going to take the under confidently on the 2.5 player receptions at an 8.37% plus EV wager that I picked right off the gate here at OddsJam.com. Our next one to look at, here's one at the top. It's only a 2.4%. So these, if it's close, I usually fade them. But things like the CJ Uzomah at 8%, like you want to take them 9 times out of 10, especially with one with a very high probability of hitting. But like this one, under 46.5. And it's the Jacksonville Jaguars and it's the Atlanta Falcons, 2 of the most underwhelming teams, underwhelming offenses in the NFL. Now, in these type of games, they can go one of 2 ways. All of a sudden, their defense fall asleep and you see this big scoring battle, or you see really much of nothing. And under 46.5, this game's being played in Atlanta. I do think we're going to see some points. I just don't know if we're going to see over 46.5, and minus 124 OddsJam perfect line. You can get this at minus 110 at WinBet right now. As we keep scrolling, here's an interesting one. Kenny Golladay, who's done nothing all year, right? Over under receiving yards 49.5. The better play is on the under, minus 114 OddsJam perfect line. Another plus 110 over at Caesars. Caesars being really generous on this holiday weekend. So the under 49.5, 4.58% plus EV wager. And he's getting the Eagles. And what do we know about the Eagles? Well, normally you can run down their throats, but their secondary has been absolutely terrific. Now, as far as Kenny Golladay, he is shaping up to be one of the biggest busts in recent memory in terms of free agency. In fact, most of the free agent wide receivers, whether they were retained with the franchise tag like an Allen Robinson or Godwin, or a guy like Will Fuller or Kenny Golladay who switched teams, they've been bust. Like Godwin's been outstanding, but like Allen Robinson, non-factor. Juju Smith-Schuster was okay until he got hurt. Kenny Golladay, really nothing. Will Fuller, really nothing. That's another story for another day with these bust free agent receivers. But as far as Kenny Golladay, how many games this year has he gone over 49.5? Well, 1, 2, 3. In the first 4 games since 0. Of course, he missed 3 games from week 6 to 8, but he hasn't gone over 49.5 yards since week 4 against the Saints. In terms of fantasy points allowed to the receivers, Philly's second fewest. So they don't give up a ton. Their secondary is outstanding. This game is in New York. There's an offensive coordinator change. The Giants fired Jason Garrett. And now, that could spark an offense. They could all of a sudden unleash Daniel Jones and Saquon and all these other weapons of Kenny Golladay. But the probability is on Kenny Golladay to hit this under. So it's a little bit more riskier than Uzomah because Kenny Golladay, he's 2 receptions away from going over this total. I just don't trust it. Plus the matchup's bad. So take that under 49.5 at Caesars. Let's see what else. I'm gonna pass on the under 22.5 points Texans Jets because it's one of those, like we were talking about the Falcons, Jaguars before. Well, the Jets and Texans, like the Jets have a weird offense where they can pop. Their defense is terrible, but like their offense can pop. And, Tyrod Taylor, and, he can distribute the ball and find an open guy as underwhelming as it has been in Houston. Tyrod Taylor is the best thing that they've had all year. Plus the Texans defense in the past 2 games, really 3 games, have been playing better. Under 22.5, it's a 3.37% or minus 115 OddsJam perfect line. Plus 100 at Fox Bet. You know what? I might end up taking this. 22.5, not a lot of points, but the higher probability is that this game is probably 10-10, 7-7 going into halftime. Let's keep going. Tom Brady, the under 2.5 rushing yards. You would think, well, this is a lock. It's Tom Brady. I don't know if it's that much of a lock. Now, the matchup against the Colts, one of the best front sevens in the league. I like it. In terms of Brady going under 2.5 yards. Well, he's gone over, which is pretty disgusting, 3 times this season, including last week against the Giants. And he's hit 2 yards in the past 3 games twice. The higher probability is Brady probably going under. It's a 3.3%. I don't hate it, but it's one that I might look the other way on now. OddsJam perfect line minus 152, minus 120, Brigada, DraftKings, and BetMGM. You could take it if you want. It's one I'm a little bit nervous about, believe it or not, just because how weird the NFL's been this season. But if you take it, I won't hate you. In fact, I might take it just because it's over a 3% plus EV wager. Here's one that I'm completely out on. It's only 2.89%. It's Deontay Johnson under 75.5 receiving yards. The Bengals secondary has been getting better, but so has the Steelers offense. Deontay Johnson's one of the more consistent receivers in the NFL. This is a big play waiting to happen. I'm going to kind of fade that one. Here's one that I love, and it's under 3. It's a 2.59%er. It's Evan Engram reception total, minus 141 at OddsJam perfect line, minus 114 at FanDuel. Caden Smith, one of the Giants tight ends, he's usually the receiving guy along with Kyle Rudolph when Evan Engram is not on the field. Caden Smith has been ruled out ahead of the game. The Philadelphia Eagles, like I said, they're terrific. They are terrific at defending wide receivers. Well, on the other side of it, They are dead last in terms of fantasy points allowed to the tight end. They give up the most. So, like you can just gouge them with the tight end position. Evan Engram, in terms of receiving, now he hasn't had more than 3.5 receptions since week 7 against Carolina. He's had 3 and 2 in his last 3 games. Target wise, in his last 3, 4, 3, and 5. So the opportunity might be there. I believe the opportunity is definitely going to be there. For Evan Engram and from Daniel Jones tomorrow. The Eagles give up. They're just gashed by the tight end. And let's go to how gashed are they on a per game basis. Well, the Eagles this season are giving up a league high 81 receptions to tight ends. Well, what does that mean? The second team in terms of receptions allowed to the tight end is the Raiders at 67. That's like, 10, 14 more receptions than the next team. If there's any game that you can have confidence in Evan Engram going over 3.5 receptions, it's against the Philadelphia Eagles in terms of yards. The Eagles have allowed 811 yards, almost 100 yards more than the next team, the Raiders. The Eagles have given up 9 passing touchdowns to the tight end, tying them with the Chargers at number 1. So, if as long as Evan Ingram's receiving yards are, at a respectable mark, I would definitely take Ingram's reception total over. Now, if you click on the actual game, this is what you love about OddsJam. They're going to have all the markets you can bet for the game. Let's find player receiving yards. Now, let's see. Player. Now we use the Control F to narrow down because there's a lot of markets that OddsJam allows you to take a look at. And let's go down. Let's find Evan Engram. And his receiving yard total set at 38.5. And that's at Barstool and their family, which is Unibet, Sugar House, Twin Spires. Now, it's 39.5 at your BetMGMs and your DraftKings and PointsBet. It's at 40.5 at FoxBet. There's the escalator props at FanDuel, where if he gets 50, it's at plus 152. But if you want to play it safe, which you probably should with Evan Engram, 38.5 is a sweet spot. You can get that at FanDuel minus 114. You can get that at Barstool at minus 115. And Evan Engram, let's go back to Evan Engram. He's gone over 38.5 yards, only 2 times. Not the greatest year for Evan Engram, but this is all about matchup. Like I said, the Eagles are giving up the most receptions and most yards by far. They haven't allowed tight ends to go over 38.5 yards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 times. They've allowed 11 different tight ends to go over 38.5 yards since week 5. Now, the first 4 games of the year, they let Schultz was the only one. He went for 80 in the first 5, or in the first 4. Since week 5, 11 different tight ends went over 38.5 yards. If it doesn't happen for Engram this week with receptions and yards, it ain't ever going to happen for Evan Engram. Put a fork in him. I think it happens this week. I would confidently take over Evan Ingram's receiving yards over his receptions, and this is a pure matchup play because of the Philadelphia Eagles are terrible. This is how crazy the NFL is. The Eagles are a top 2 team in defending wide receivers. They are the bottom team at defending the tight end. Let's do a couple more, then I'm going to wrap up. Let's see here. Got to scroll down. Let's find the NFL again. And, tomorrow would be the 28th. Been a long couple of days, but I'll get there. Um, hmm. Let's find a good one. Let's find one or two good ones to close out, right? Hmm. I want to find some high. Like here's a 4.88 first half total under. Now here's a juicy one, right? Because the San Francisco 49ers defense, I don't know what the hell they put in their coffee since that Colts Monday Night Football game where they were just obliterated by Carson Wentz, Jonathan Taylor, and Michael Pittman. I think that was like week 5, right around there. But since then, they have not allowed a wide receiver to catch a touchdown for what that's worth. The Vikings, their defense, they don't really hold up. This past 2 years, terrible defense from Mike Zimmer, something you don't expect. This game's in Minnesota, fast, fast turf. The under here, it's a 4.88% plus EV wager. Now, 22.5 points. It's not a lot. And with these two teams, it can go over in the first quarter if they pop. However, if you want to take a shot, you can get plus 150 odds at Fox Bet. It's a 4.88%, almost 5% plus EV wager. If you want to take a shot and throw a couple of bucks on the under, I like going towards like the more favorable, the higher probable bets, but bets like this hit a lot. Like the unders in the NFL this season have gone bonkers. And if this is one of those games where you think there's going to be a lot of points, maybe there isn't, especially early. The probability of this winning is only 41.95, but that plus 150 at Fox is really juicy. And this was more of a testament to how well the 49ers defense has been playing. Like even their rushing defense has gotten better, and maybe they contain Dalvin Cook. Their passing defense, like I said, they have not allowed a wide receiver to catch a touchdown since Michael Pittman in that aforementioned Monday Night Football matchup, which seems like a long time ago. What do the Vikings do really well? Well, Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen. I'm telling people to sit Thielen this week, as crazy as that sounds in fantasy. Could blow up my face, but the numbers are saying otherwise. So I might take a look at that. Let's get one more good one. There's a 6%er here with Stafford. Let's see if there's anything higher. Otherwise, we'll break that one down. So that's it. There's a 6% Matthew Stafford under 24.5 completions. Now, they're getting the Green Bay Packers. The Packers have, to my knowledge, a top 5, if not the number 1 defense against the pass. They've been outstanding against the pass this season. Green Bay, let's see. Let's look up Stafford here. Well, regardless how good Green Bay's defense is against the pass, right? Matthew Stafford knows this team. He's played against the Green Bay Packers seemingly a million times from all of the years he spent with the Detroit Lions. He's also played recently. Like, this is not a new regime. It's not like Stafford's been out for 5 years and, this is a new regime. No, he's played against this Packers regime before, and a lot of these players in their secondary. So he's familiar. And that's going to help in this matchup. Like, normally Stafford plays really well against the Green Bay Packers. And now the profitable side of this bet, under 24.5 completions, minus 138 OddsJam perfect line, minus 105 at Caesars. Like I said, Caesars has been very friendly to the plus EV page lately. It's a 6.03 plus EV wager over at OddsJam. Now, Stafford can go either way. They're either going to throw the ball a ton or they're not going to throw a ball a ton, which means he's going to be really efficient with his passes. This is going to be the first game with a full playbook of Odell Beckham Jr., Mr. Reliable Robert Woods, obviously on IR, Van Jefferson, pass-catching backs, obviously Cooper Kupp and Tyler Higbee. So the weapons are there. This is going to be a terrific matchup, possibly the matchup of the week to watch. I'm also really, really interested in this Buccaneers Colts game, which could be a season-changing game if the for both teams. Like, imagine the Colts win, and the Titans have been losing. All of a sudden, the Colts, who I picked to win the division in the offseason, they're on the right trajectory. Meanwhile, the Buccaneers going in the wrong direction. Anything can happen in the NFL. But in terms of this bet here, because I can go on off on NFL tangents, but in terms of how many times have Matthew Stafford, how many times has he completed fewer than 24 and a half passes? Well, 1, 2, 3, 4. So only 4 times he's gone under that total. Let's look at the Green Bay Packers. How many times have they allowed a quarterback to throw for more? So in terms of quarterback completions against the Packers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 times this season, the Green Bay Packers have held quarterbacks to under 24 and a half completions. And I am also including the Russell Wilson, Geno Smith game when they completed 10 and 11 passes respectively. So there's 6 times right there where they've held passers to under 24 and a half. Stafford has gone under that total 4 times. It's going to be really, really close. Like, if this game turns into a shootout, and it can, then we see a little bit more from Matthew Stafford. But I think this game could really be controlled by the running backs and the defense. Like, you would think, well, these two teams, a lot of firepower, yes, but they also have the ability to play sound defense and run the football and control the clock and keep the ball out of Aaron Rodgers' hands, keep the ball out of Matthew Stafford's hands. So I'm going to take the under 6.03% plus EV wager on Stafford's completions under 24 and a half. But I'm going to wrap up here. Those are some of my favorite plus EV wagers for Sunday's week 12 slate in the NFL. My name is Anthony Servino. Follow me on Twitter at The Real NFL Guru. Follow the show at OddsJam. We can be found at all the top social media and podcast platforms. Good luck in all of your betting endeavors for week 12. I'll see you next time.